Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, Judd's practice notes are back after a week hiatus, the bye week, but you were out at Twin Cities Orthopedic Performance Center this week, and there's all kinds of sort of 50-50 injury situations to monitor. So we'll get into the things that you observed being out at Vikings practice. I believe, and don't shoot the messenger here, I believe we still have a few spots left for the Purple Daily Unplugged event this coming Monday at Padres, scorenorth.com/unplugged to register for free, Judd.
Going to be a great time. And look, I mean, this is now the official sports beer of Sports Dad. I would not steer you wrong, kids. I would not in any way suggest a beer that was not top-notch, and Padres is top-notch. Fantastic. They're red, the lager, a great session beer. I urge you to try it out. Now, it is available in more than 80 liquor stores in the metro, so you could definitely do that, or you can check it out at their location, which is where we're going to be doing the Unplugged event on Monday. It's in the old Land Nod factory at the corner of Broadway and Central Avenues Northeast. There's a patio there. It's a fantastic time. And we'll be talking some football, cheers, and some beers. There's a Monday night game or two on that night. Okay.
Two.
Okay. Two's a little too much for me. I like one, but that's fine.
I'm in on two. Give me
The
a
more the
third
merrier.
one. I want a third
Put more
one.
games back on Sunday. I like the Sunday slate. But anyway, Padres making beer like it's meant to be made. Absolutely, positively good times at the Unplugged event. And as Phil said, you get a ticket as well for one free beer, so you can try it yourself.
Yep, scorenorth.com/unplugged. And if you're listening to this or watching this after it's full, I apologize in advance, but we will do more of these going forward. So, all right, where do you want to start Judd's practice notes here?
Well, let's start with the injuries because we do have updates from practice. So I was there on Wednesday, which had a few guys out. You know, it's amazing. You come back from the bye week and you learn who got hurt before the bye week in that Jets game in London. And it's like, how can this injury report be so long? Like, what's going on here? But the Thursday practice, some guys did come back. Let's touch on the key ones. Aaron Jones, who, by the way, doesn't have a hip injury. It's a hamstring. Now, he hurt the left one last year. This is the right one. But I was asking him about it yesterday because I was like, did you just get hurt on the one play and then left or what? And he said, no. He said, actually, I was not injured. He felt the tweak in pregame warmups in London. And then it went away and he's like, oh, I can play through it. And then it came back up. And I don't know if it was the catch he made. That was a great catch on the one throw that Mullins made. I think he came out after a run. But anyway, he pretty quickly was bothered by it again. And they said, okay, we're going to take you out. And you know, that game changed then. Like his absence, it wasn't like it was just, hey, Ty Chandler's in smooth sailing.
Yeah.
That game definitely changed. He was not at practice, or he did not practice on Wednesday. He was on the practice field for the media availability session, which is only like 3 periods. It's nothing to do with the actual work. It's individual drills and stuff. He was on the field for that today, but Aaron Jones, I don't think he'll play, because I think they're going to be extremely cautious.
I agree.
He'll probably push to play, but the issue is, one, he does have a history of being hurt. I think he missed 5 games with the Packers last year. And again, he had a hamstring problem. Different hamstring, but it's still a concern. And you got the Thursday game again. So you're going to play Sunday, Detroit. This is about the worst, like, Sunday, Thursday that you could possibly get. Because the Sunday game is Detroit, right? It's a huge game. It's going to be physical as hell. And then you got to turn around and play the Rams. I think there's a good chance that they're going to take your advice with TJ Hawkinson, who also has returned to practice. And I think they might do the same thing with Jones, which is they don't play on Sunday and hope that they get both of them back on Thursday. So that's the Aaron Jones.
Yeah. He missed those 3 games. Well, he missed 6 games last year with the Packers,
6 games, not 5.
But he missed the 3 games in a row because he missed like 2 games week 2 and week 3. Then he came back. Then he missed another game week 5, played 5 games. And then he winds up missing weeks 11 through 13. But that rest and getting back to 100% launched him into one of the best 5-game stretches of his career, or 6-game stretches, because he had the 5 consecutive 100-yard games, averaging like 6 yards a carry, had the 3 touchdowns against Dallas when they put up 48 points. So, he might just be a guy that you're not going to get 7, and we knew this going in. You're not going to get 17 games.
Right.
You're 5-0. I know that everyone is like, this is the Super Bowl right now, the regular season Super Bowl, right, Lions? But big picture here, you have like a 95% chance to make the playoffs. You've got a bunch of winnable games down the stretch on your schedule. You've got a bunch more division games. If you put him in this game at 80%, I can go, and he makes the injury worse, and now he's out for 2 months or something because, it's a tear or something worse. I don't know. I would just, unless he is really, really close to 100%, there's no reason. And I'd probably sit him for the Rams game too. And it's gonna decrease your chances to win these 2 games because Aaron Jones is super important. But if your goal is to make a run late in the season, I want him as close to 100% as possible, like he was down the stretch for the Packers last year.
So he said that instead of going on vacation during the bye week, that he was in the TCO facility every day, rehabbing and having massage, blah blah blah. I guess my question is this: did the hamstring pull on, like was he warming up and it felt like it was pulling on it? Like, that's important too, because if it's something that he can easily aggravate, then I'm with you. I wouldn't play him on Thursday either. I just don't think the training staff is going to allow him to play on Sunday. I'm just assuming that he won't. The Thursday game might be up for debate, but yeah, they're not going to take a chance. And to your point about last year, when you look at what he did when he came back, that's what you want, right? Like if I told you right now, okay, he's going to play on Sunday and he's going to rush for 80 yards and catch, X amount of passes for 40, but he's going to aggravate it. So now it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So,
but he does, it's a big deal. If he's out, it's a big deal. In fact, I'll go so far as to say, if he's in, and I guess we aren't really gonna know until 90 minutes before. Now, maybe sometimes they'll announce or a player will let it slip on a Friday.
Yeah.
Out, but we might not know if he's in. If we somehow know that he's in on Friday before we make our weekend picks, him being in or out, I think changes who I think wins this game. I'm kind of like right now, I'm definitely leaning Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Vikings fans. If he plays and he's close to 100%, I think it sways me. That's how important I think he's been to this team so far.
I mean, it definitely could. Now, from the Lions standpoint, no one's going to feel sorry for the Vikings because Aiden Bleepin Hutchinson is done for the season. Yeah. They have 15 sacks. He has 7.5 of them. Like their defense is still good. I'm not saying it's not good, but you talk about, basically a guy that was a game wrecker is gone.
Yep. The sacks are one thing, and those are great. He's got 7.5, like you said. He also has 45 pressures on the season.
It's nuts.
Which is 10 more than Nick Bosa, who's second on that list. Grenard is third with 29. So get that. Jonathan Grenard has the third most pressures of any player in the league. 29. 16 behind Aiden Hutchinson, who's just been far and away the best pass rusher in the league. And with him being out and the Lions not really having much in the way of somebody close to him, we talked about this on Thursday episode with Thor. It might, if Aaron Jones is out and Aiden Hutchinson's out, it might make sense to tell Sam Darnold, you're throwing the ball 38 times, 40 times.
I could see that.
Please don't throw 4 interceptions. Be safe. But you're going to throw the ball a lot on Sunday.
Be safe out there. Don't be dumb.
Yeah.
But no, there's a case to be made that those two things, because here's the thing too. So for the Lions in practice on Wednesday, their cornerback, Carlton Davis III, I love that. Carlton Davis III has a quadriceps injury. He did not practice. So there is a case that if he can't play, and Hutchinson's clearly not playing, that, yeah, you make this the Justin Jefferson, Addison, and to a certain degree, Naylor show and take your chances. I mean, this could be Well, I don't think these defenses are going to hemorrhage exactly, but I mean this could be a really fun, like high scoring type of game because Detroit is really good offensively, and the Vikings are as well. And if Detroit is without the guy, I mean, Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, they're both good, but their lives, you know how much easier their lives just got?
Could I make a case though that I don't know what the total is on this game? It's probably like a 42, 43, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
Could I make the case that it's really the other way, that this might not be as high scoring because, number one, the Vikings don't have Aaron Jones, and he is a huge driver of offense. And if they're going to put the ball in Sam Darnold's hands 38, 40 times or whatever, say, hey, we're going to lean pass. But that opens him up to throw. I know that like he's not going to be running from Hutchinson, but what if he throws like 3 interceptions? The more you have him throw,
right?
Hey, I'm not trying to be like a fatalist here, but
right.
The formula has been Darnold play action, insulated,
yeah. Nope,
and every game he's had like 3 or 4 type of plays.
Jones being out concerns me because of 2 things, and you just said one of them: the play action. So, like, if you're running play action with Akers or Chandler, does the defense bite? With Jones, they have to bite, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, does this eliminate your screen game completely? I mean, Jones is the key cog there.
Yeah, Chandler has not shown that he is great at the screen game yet. He's also a small sample size for him, and maybe he's learning. So, yeah, there's just, this is tough. This is a tough one.
Other side of the ball, not at practice on Wednesday, not at practice on Thursday, and a shout out to our former colleague, Andrew Kramer, now at the Star Tribune, does a great job, broke the story. Blake Cashman turf toe, according O'Connell wouldn't confirm this, but according to sources that Kramer talked to, Blake Cashman out for Sunday and very likely could be out for Thursday. Oof. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I think this is bad news, and here's why. Ivan Pace's absence, Grugier Hill played well with him out, but it's my contention that Blake Cashman, and it's funny too, because Jones and Cashman, the one knock was they're not going to play 17 games, and sure enough, it's true. But Blake Cashman, if you think about this, okay, the Lions' run game is really good. Like, they have a really good run game. I think Blake Cashman, the Vikings defense is second against the run, which is incredible, 60 some odd yards average per game given up. I think Blake Cashman has been absolutely huge there. He is a whirling dervish. He's everywhere. He is everywhere. Mm-hmm. And, if you got a guy like Cashman who can come in and help stop the run, that is enormous. So I would argue that I think that the loss of Blake Cashman for this game is more significant probably than the loss of Pace for the 2 games that he missed. And obviously the Vikings won both of them.
Yep, I agree. He is. And I know we just tore apart PFF and their system on Thursday's episode.
Don't know what
but he is the second highest graded defensive player, Blake Cashman, on the Vikings behind Josh Metellus.
Yeah.
And they've been able to unleash him as a pass rusher a lot too. Mm-hmm. He's been pretty darn good in coverage. When he's been targeted so far this year, opposing quarterbacks are just 12 for 19 for 122 yards and an 81.5 passer rating. He's had 3 pass breakups. He leads the team in stop tackles. So yeah, it's just
a loss.
One guy doesn't derail everything, but you're playing a really good team, and they lost one of their key defensive players. You're going to lose one of your key defensive players here. Mm-hmm. It just kind of adds to the story.
2 more guys to get to who did not practice on Wednesday. It sounds like, again, they were back on the field for the early portion on Thursday. Harrison Phillips with a shoulder. I'm guessing he's going to play. I hope he is at least 70%, because again, in the run game, he's huge. And I feel like he's had a great year. I feel like a year ago he was very good, but it feels like probably, largely because of comfort in Flores' scheme, he's taken a step. And Patrick Jones, who has been a revelation, has been unbelievable as far as being a backup edge rusher, a shoulder as well. Didn't practice on Wednesday. Sounds like he is back on the field. He is he's been such a valuable depth guy. Now, if Jones can't go, that does open the door for Dallas Turner to play more, which he has not been. So that could be an interesting scenario. But Phillips, there's There's if he is either sidelined and or just not near 100%, I don't know that you have a player who's capable of replacing what he has brought thus far.
Yep. He's been just rock solid ever since they acquired him. And he also falls in the category of, as you've talked about throughout the last few months, just really smart players on this. Every level of this defense just has a guy or two or three that high football IQ, been around long enough, understands little details, and all of that adds up along with Brian Flores' system here. Sometimes you think like, oh, your team's off to an amazing start, and it's just like there's always something in football. When you have 17 games on the schedule,
Injuries. Always.
You're not going to avoid injuries. Like the Vikings are lucky that the injuries that they've had to deal with so far are kind of like 1 or 2 weeks here. Guy has an ankle over there. Maybe Darnold's a little nicked up from a bad hit. It's not like your leg gets snapped in half, Aiden Hutchinson style.
Correct.
So you're not going to avoid it over 17 games. The good news is for some of the defensive stuff, this is one of the deepest defensive rosters in the league in terms of just trustworthy, playable players. They are running out. So through 6 games or through 5 games, 6 weeks, the Vikings have 16 different defensive players who've played at least 75 snaps. And Grugier Hill is the 17th guy, and he's filled in as not a starter, but like a heavy snap guy when Pace was out. So, the fact that you run 16 or 17 players deep of just trustworthy guys that you can put in rotation makes it easier to withstand 2 or 3 dudes being banged up.
Yeah, I think Cashman is in a very small group of guys that with the role that they've played, like, you hate to lose. Like Pace a year ago was key, and he's still a starter. He's still good, but it felt like his absence. Cashman, you can see why they wanted him. Like, he has stepped in and he's played a role that we didn't see, in my opinion, anyone play last year. But yeah, they've got depth, pass rushers. Quite frankly, if they lose a safety, including Metellus, I'm not saying that this guy is their equal, but Theo Jackson's a very smart player. He can play all of those spots.
Yep.
So it's not, you don't want to lose a safety, but if you do, you're not sunk. This, to go back to our Thursday show, Phil, this is sort of why we talked about, and I brought up potential cornerback acquisitions. That's a place where if someone gets hurt, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, because how much do you trust
your depth?
Caleb Evans? How much?
I don't
obviously,
think you do anymore.
Mekhi Blackman's out for the year.
Right. You just don't really have depth there. Like, that might be the only spot where I feel like there's just no depth right now.
Yeah. No, I think you're probably right there. So, all right, that's the injury stuff.
Let's get to this. Crowd noise expectation. We talked about this, I think, 3 days ago, but the get-in price for this game is astronomical. It's huge because of the expectation that this is going to be such an entertaining and good game. And it's expected to be so loud that the Vikings were pumping in crowd noise at their own practice yesterday to play a home game.
Wow. So they don't trust that we can't control ourselves as a fan base?
I think they want to share with the players, get them used to, again, that the fact that, that place can just get so loud, which is to the Vikings' advantage. Like, they love that.
Well, defensively, you got to learn how to communicate if you can't hear each other. Offensively, I would hope that 70,000 people can take a deep breath and let Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson operate.
Yeah, but they are, it's just, it should be what I would call as close as you can come to football pandemonium. It's incredible. It's October, and this game, it has a big game feel.
How many? Last year there was some anticipation for Lions Vikings. 2 years ago, the Lions were kind of sneaking up on the league.
It doesn't happen.
How many times can you remember a Vikings Lions game feeling like this?
I can't. This feels like old school Packer Week.
Yeah,
like I have felt this way about Packer Week numerous times.
Mid to late 90s, where the Vikings were a playoff team or better. Packers were a Super Bowl team.
Favre coming here, struggled in the dome at the time. The fans would be obnoxiously loud, and Brett would melt down.
Or some of the Rodgers years where the Vikings had good teams. Yep. The last time the Lions were sustainably competitive was like a few years in the early 90s. And the Vikings were a playoff team,
early 2010s, they actually had some, I think they had a couple of playoff appearances. But again, competitive is the key word. They weren't like really good.
Yeah, and there's a difference between, that's like a pretty feisty team that might make the playoffs, and what people are talking about for this game, rightfully so, is these are two of the Super Bowl contenders in the league. So the real question is, how many times have these two teams met in the regular season where you thought at the time that they played each other, these are two of the 5 best teams in the NFL?
Never.
I mean, the Vikings have been that at least somewhat frequently.
Mm-hmm. Never.
The Lions last year were, when they made the playoffs a few times in the Matthew Stafford era, no one thought they were like Super Bowl good.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Barry Sanders era, they made the playoffs 6 times. But I'm not sure in that era. I mean, 91, they won 12 games, but nobody really looked at them, even in the Barry Sanders era, as like, that's the team to beat in the NFC.
And that was Jerry Burns last year. So the Vikings weren't good. So like the you need both teams to be really competitive or just damn good. And so I would say, unless there was one in the 60s, but the Vikings, didn't get good till 67. I would say that there has never been a Vikings-Lions game, short of Thanksgiving games, because but that's different. That's because of the day that the game is played and it's exciting. But there's never been like, oh my God, it's Lions week. This is going to be great to watch. Never.
I went back. So the last time the Lions were, I think it's fair to say, even though they were competitive in the 90s with Barry Sanders, they were not Super Bowl level good. Matthew Stafford era, they had 2 or 3 years where they were good, but not Super Bowl level good. This is the first time the Lions have been Super Bowl level good since before the Super Bowl existed.
Right.
Where they won 3 championships in the 1950s, 1952, 53, 57.
Yes.
And the Vikings did not exist yet.
Right.
So this is the most hyped, or this is the premier regular season matchup between these two teams in history.
One of the games next year against the Lions, mark my word, will be a primetime game.
Yeah.
This is what drives it to that. And quite frankly, I mean, I know, and I believe that we're in the flex scheduling as far as the Sunday night game goes, where you can only, there's an extended period where you can only flex 3 games before like week 12 or something. So I know that they probably didn't want to. And look, the Jets are in a huge market. The Steelers are a heritage franchise. But I'm sorry, Jets, Steelers.
Yeah, I know.
I get the market size. It's all about the market size.
I'll say, as a football masochist, the train wreck that is the Jets, and now they're bringing Devontae Adams on board, and then Russell Wilson's going to maybe start for the Steelers. There's some like car crash intrigue for me. I'm interested in that game.
Sure.
But yeah, like those aren't teams that are vying for the Super Bowl. Dude, there's 4 teams playing each other on Sunday that all could be legit Super Bowl contenders. Because the Packers are playing the Texans. And I know people might not put the Packers quite on that level, but they're really good. Mm-hmm. And the Texans are one of like the 3 best teams in the AFC. And we're tucking these games away at noon.
I know, because Fox has the late afternoon national window, which is the Chiefs and Niners, which is a great game. And that's the game that Burkhart and Brady are going to be on, which is why we're going to get Adam Amin and Greg Olson.
Yeah.
Which I think is a better broadcast team.
It is a good broadcast team. It is. Adam Amin, up and coming, highly underrated. Mm-hmm. Real quick, I am going through Prize Picks right now, and I think Sam Darnold has the highest number. Burrow and Stroud are at 258.5. But this is the highest number I've seen for Sam Darnold on Prize Picks. I'll even show you. 256.5.
Oh, they know.
More or less. Because if Aaron Jones is out and there's no Aiden Hutchinson, it makes some sense. Also on Prize Picks, where, by the way, you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. They're offering an Anthony Edwards free square for the Tuesday night opener against the Lakers, where he just needs to score 1 point in the Wolves opener, and you win that square. It's set at 0.5 for points for Anthony Edwards, and you pick it, you pick more, and you go from there. It doesn't even let you pick less, but if you somehow had an angle that like he was going to sprain his ankle, I don't know, they don't even let you. So download the Prize Picks app, use the code PurpleDaily, and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code PurpleDaily on Prize Picks to win $50 instantly when you play $5. More Judd's practice notes coming up here. But to me, the fall is the best time to be on a deck because I love hooded sweatshirt, maybe a little drink in hand. Some people wheel the TV out on the deck too.
Oh, yeah. You know what I think? I think we're getting more and more full-time, like built-in TVs on decks too.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, my in-laws who live in Wisconsin have like a full outdoor, like 70-inch setup and everything. Like, doesn't it freeze in the winter? They're like, no, you just figure it out.
It's fine. Well, anyway, if you are thinking now, you know what? Sports Dad and Phil talking about decks. I'd like my deck restored, or I would like a new deck. Guess what? You've come to the right place because Ugly Deck is on a mission to rid the world of all of those ugly decks. Book a free deck estimate this month and get 3 free footings included. Just need a deck tweak. You just need a little something done. Get up to $1,000 off installation or a DIY deck package. For the DIYer, Ugly Deck can install your footings and ledger and save you from the mess and frustration on the hardest part of building a deck. If you want the top carpenters and maintenance-free decks to build your entire deck, that's the Sports Dad route. They build year-round, so book a free estimate today for a new deck this year. Just go to uglydeck.com to book your free estimate. Uglydeck.com, and you can be sitting on the deck in fall on gorgeous days, sipping a beer, watching football, and life will be perfect.
Amen. Also, hey, Park Dental, appreciate them partnering with us here for the football season, and I appreciate them cleaning my teeth because I was stuck without a dentist. 10 years with my old dentist, who I loved, retired, and it left me a dental free agent. And Park Dental came in and said, hey, why don't you check us out? 50 years cleaning for and caring for and cleaning teeth in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. And I stopped in, had an amazing experience. You can have the same experience by going to parkdental.com, schedule your checkup. If you're looking for a new dentist or maybe a better dentist, check them out, parkdental.com. All right, what else did you observe at Vikings practice?
Oh, you know what? I had you talk about football. So I was in the locker room for access in the afternoon yesterday, and Brandon Powell was standing there, and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go talk to him about punt returns because I felt like the Naylor thing. You know, it's funny. Punt returns are ignored completely until they're screwed up, and then it's like, oh my God, how could you drop that ball? You're an idiot. And like Dex has talked about PTSD on punt returns, and I said that's not really fair to Brandon Powell. He does a really good job.
Yeah.
Now he's not Marcus Sherrills. He's probably a little bit more Bobby Wade, but he's reliable. What Naylor did was obviously an unforgivable sin, and in fact, in practice yesterday, he also was trying to field punts and dropped another one. I just would abort mission there. Jalen, no, don't worry about it.
No.
You know, I basically said, take me through what goes on. Like, what is it? Like, because we just see a dude catch a ball, and you hear the stories about, well, you got guys bearing down on you. They have to give you some room, but it's not like a ton of room. It's not a kickoff return where I feel like, okay, you get the ball or you don't. But if you do, you can catch the ball and then you get your head of steam. Punt returning, you get none of that. And he was telling me about the different types of punts now. Because I asked him about this Australian punt, you know, the one where they drop the ball straight, it goes straight down. Because when I was a kid, it was the spiral, right? Like it was Ray Guy, get the ball, kick the ball, and it just spirals perfectly and it comes down. Now, back then, they could destroy you, so that was a problem. But I was just talking about all the different types of punts now that these guys have. And he said, I hate the Australian ball. But then he kept talking. I didn't realize, and if you've returned punts, forgive my ignorance here, there's something called the banana ball. So there's a banana ball where you drop it like to the side, and the punter hits it at an angle, and the trajectory or the spin is really weird. He said that's the toughest one. So I said, how do you practice these? And he said Ryan Wright is really good at like 4 different styles of punts.
So Ryan Wright is doing his own punting practice, but then does he also to help the punt returners? He'll put some different looks on a ball.
Sounds like it. Now I'd like to talk to Wright. Now my curiosity is piqued. I've opened Pandora's box of punting, but it sounds like, so Powell said, I come out before practice a lot and I work on it. Like I get punts, and he's like, Wright is great. So Wright must come out with him and punt to him. And I need to ask right now, do you go away from, I guess it would be like pitches, like changeups and fastballs and curveball, right? I guess just because one pitch or one type of punt is your meat and potatoes, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't know more or couldn't experiment more. But I just thought it was really interesting because, again, I feel like, oh, yeah, the guy caught the punt. Of course he did. Or, well, he caught the punt, but he doesn't return punts. What's wrong with him? And it's like, see somebody screw it up, and you're like, oh. I said, are you ever concerned for your safety? Because, you guys get blasted. And he said, I haven't been since they outlawed the fact that they could hit you in the head.
Yeah. And
I said, you get hit in the ribs. He's like, yeah, it doesn't feel good. He also talked about the fact that the majority of gunners around the league now aren't nearly as tough as they were at one time. He said the gunners used to try to destroy you. Now, I mean, some of them do.
Careful,
still,
that could be bulletin board material
but
for the
most of them
Lions
don't.
gunners.
Yeah, well, and I don't know about Detroit. Perhaps Dan Campbell's team.
If I'm a Lions gunner, I am pinning that quote to my bathroom mirror in the morning.
I think guys are worried about penalties now too, right? Because it's like if you destroy a guy, you might get called.
Generally, you're not really allowed to light guys up in the NFL anymore, right?
Right. And if you do, they might just throw a flag because it looked bad.
Yeah.
But there was one I talked to him about. There was a punt earlier this season, if you go back to the Texans game, where where Brandon Powell is clearly not going to catch the ball, and the gunner is bearing down on him. So Powell lets the ball go, initiates the contact, and hits the gunner first, takes him out. So the gunner then can't down the ball.
Okay, yeah, good call.
So anyway, just the whole punting thing to me, it's just very inside. Football. But it's something that you don't ever even think about. And then I was like,
until something terrible happens,
yeah,
and the Packers are back in the game. Yeah,
exactly. So
it is one of the most highly underrated, difficult jobs I think in sports.
Oh yeah,
these dudes are kicking these footballs. I mean, they're going up past. Well, the Cowboys had to raise their jumbotron up the first couple of years of that stadium.
Yep.
And so you're sitting there. First of all, and if it's windy outside, if it's an outdoor game, getting under it and just judging it without anybody running at you is harder than people would think. Yeah. It's like in baseball too, like catching a pop-up. Well, anyone can catch a pop-up. You ever try and catch a pop-up that's literally skyscraper, 150 feet in the air, whatever it is, 100 feet in the air? And then you got people running at you, so you're trying to figure out how can I catch this, not get smoked. Oh, and then I have to gain yards and not fumble. And
or don't. Like that's the thing too, is you have to make a split-second decision. Like, do I just want to catch it and try and go against the grain here?
It's one of the in terms of having a regular human being try to do it, it's the gap between how easy it looks versus having a regular human do it is very wide.
Powell did bring up what you just said, though. He said the height that these punters can get the ball now is ridiculous.
It's nuts.
And a pop-up is a really good. Well, and that's the thing is, Naylor never should have tried to field that ball, but once he did what he was trying to do, he made it look like probably a good high school football player would. Because I don't want to say that we would have, because we probably wouldn't have touched the ball. Like, we would have tried and not touched it. But what he tried to do, the mistake was he never should have tried. But once he did, high ball, sun field, think about wind, to your point, because it's Lambeau, wind swirling probably. That's the thing about it. And I have a great appreciation for guys that can make it look like, oh yeah, of course I caught it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I do have one more. If you're done, I got one more question for you off practice this week. Were you there for the KOC press? Did we do a KOC press conference on Wednesday or no?
We did. I asked a few
What was his general demeanor coming out of the bye?
It's interesting. This time of year, coaches are. I mean, he's always got, for a coach, a relatively pleasant demeanor. But he's sort of getting a little bit they get tighter. There's no question about it. You can feel the air of training camp and the season starting, and there's pressure, but it's a ways off. And I also think that there's factors here, right? So they had the bye week. He was fully aware of who was hurt, but you're hoping Blake Cashman can come back, right? And then you're told that he's probably not coming back. There's just a lot of factors. It is such I was talking to our buddy Kevin Seifert of ESPN about this. That job is just such a grind. So I would say that he is. I mean, it's not like, hey, we're 5-0, ain't this great? You could tell he's got a lot going on. I mean, and the other thing too is you can't dismiss how Darnold played against the Jets if you're him.
Right. Think about, to your point about the grind of that job. So he's done the whole organization has done an incredible job up to this point, from the free agency hits one after another, a huge draft, and long term we'll see how that works out. But now you're like working all these guys in all throughout the offseason. You're trying to build belief that with Sam Darnold as the quarterback, and you're trying to turn around Sam Darnold's career all throughout the offseason and getting him into the system, everything. And that's a whole process up to week 1. And here we go. And then you start 5-0.
Right.
And you get a bye week, and you look ahead, and you look back first, and all the things that you've accomplished to get to this point. Holy cow, we are the toast of the NFL. We are 5-0, and now we get a bye week to exhale, and you realize you're not even a third of the way through the season.
Correct. And there's more pressure now. And the pressure's and like that's the thing. If you're 0-5 or 1-4, it sucks because they're going to talk about your job and you're not, your team is underachieving or it's just bad. But don't fool yourself and think, well, 5-0 must be great, right?
Dude, when I put a tweet out, because we picked the records on our show this week, and I was the most conservative of all three of us at 12-5. Said they're going to go, which means 7-5 the rest of the way. People were pissed. What? There's no way they lose this, that. It's the NFL, and crazy things happen every week. But
right.
They've gone from most fans and media feeling like they were probably not going to make the playoffs to less than a third of the way into the season.
Yes.
And people will be pissed if they finish 12-5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Kevin, too. And I mean, this is not unique to Kevin O'Connell. These guys are so competitive. There are two things. One, they're never happy. Like O'Connell's demeanor is, yes, it comes off for a coach as happy, but they're never satisfied. They are competitive behind, closed doors. I don't want to say they're different people like bad, but they're far more demand. Like we know a fraction of that dude. And look, that's how you get there. So like, I'm not criticizing it. But they're highly competitive. And the other thing, and I think this is what grinds you down, and I think this is why Bud Grant actually didn't grind down, is most of these guys are control freaks. So you're literally trying to control everything that you possibly can. I think Bud was pretty good. Now, I don't know for sure, but I think he allowed people to do their jobs. I think it's become tougher. And so you have your hand in every cookie jar. And in O'Connell's case, you're also the offensive guru guy. Like, just think about the stress that goes in with it. And 5-0, it's not like, well, no stress now. Mm-hmm. You win a Super Bowl, you got to get done with that game. And in a week, think about next year.
You've added, it's just, they're literally number 1 in power rankings right now.
Yeah.
And that might not be we'll see. I mean, if you look at the analytics too, you take out garbage time, far and away the best team in the NFL. But I think let's see what happens against the Lions. I'm not ready to say this is all of a sudden a 15-2. I think this is a really good team.
Yeah.
Better team than most people thought. But there's a long way to go here, and some injuries they're dealing with right now. So and
a quarterback that has played really well so far, but you can't just cruise control him. Like, you can't just assume, he's going to continue that all. I mean, this dude who was considered a bust a month and a half ago had 4 consecutive games with a passer rating over 100.
Yeah.
And now, and against the Jets, a good defense, a bad team. Good defense, he comes back to earth. Okay, was that just one game? But I do have, so I should tell you this because I gleaned this out at practice. It's a behind the scenes thing. But if you saw the Vikings.com put out, or I should say VEN, Vikings Entertainment Network, put out a video, I think it was on Monday, with O'Connell addressing the team. And he's talking about, we haven't done a thing yet or something. People are going to, and that's the one that ends with people are going to be bleeping, they're going to know your name. I assume that was from the team's return on Monday. Turns out it's from like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So that wasn't from the team. Like, I thought that was how he addressed them coming back. I thought, that's pretty cool. It's still a good speech, but it wasn't what he said on Monday.
Okay. Because I saw that too, and I was like, oh, wow. He's like sending him into the bye with
Yeah.
charge.
It
So it was
sounds like
before it was before the
Yeah,
Jets game.
yeah. That's what my spies tell me.
That's fair. Good stuff here. Judd's practice notes from Twin Cities Orthopedic Performance Center. Tomorrow, we've got our Feedback Friday live show at just after 10 a.m. Central Time, Purple Picks on Saturday. And then Vikings Vent Line is always the place to be on the Purple Daily YouTube channel right after every Vikings game. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. 50,000 subs as of last week. So thank you guys for getting us to a
That was me.
pretty cool milestone. Judd was the 50,000th subscriber.
I really think I was.
Oh,
I didn't realize I
crazy.
didn't subscribe.
And on the audio side, too, the podcast side, on Apple and Spotify, it helps grow the show if you give us a 5-star rating and a positive review. So, all right, we'll catch you tomorrow for a Feedback Friday. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die around here.